My guest's wife wrote to me not too long ago and said, I think you should feature my husband. I don't usually pay much attention to such messages, but this one was a little special because it had with it a book that her husband had just already written several years ago. It's called I Want Me Back. It wasn't his first book. He had written one several years before that. In fact, he's written a total of 7 books, and he's working on his 8th. His first one, many of you may remember, Fruitful and Quality Life, written about 13 years ago, back in 2002. His other book, Top Positioning. It's all about motivation, lifestyle coaching, letting people feel good about themselves. I call it Ordinary Kenyans Doing Extraordinary Things. Sit back. If you need motivation, if you need inspiration, if you need to get your mojo back, this is the show for you. My guest tonight, Stephen Kigwa, author, lifestyle coach, you name it, he's the man about town.
Stephen, yes.
Good to see you, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you.
I heard you turned 19 earlier this month, 39 earlier this month.
No, come on. I turned 20 for the umpteenth time.
20 for the umpteenth time.
Yes.
You're 39, you're 10 years younger than I am.
Oh, really?
And you've written 7 books?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, your wife,
yes.
I tell you, man, she's special. She wrote to me and she sent this book to me, I Want Me Back.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, these are the stories Kenyans should be reading, because these are stories that they can relate to. And there's a part in this, and we'll talk about the other books, but there's a particular part in this.
Yes.
When you were living, you were paying rent to some landlady or landlord.
Yes.
And it came to a point where you couldn't pay it anymore. You couldn't afford to pay it.
That's
and
correct.
Go on, tell the story.
Interesting. That was some years back.
Yeah.
Stayed in someone's place, and I was trying to make the ends meet. And at some point, I couldn't even pay the rent. But the lady was kind to me. She told me, Stephen, I think you have stayed here now for 10 months. You've not been able to pay rent. Why don't I give you a smaller house? You stay there, perhaps you'll be able to pay that. Well, we sat down and I said to her, I think even if you give me a smaller house and I'm still staying away from town, I'd rather stay closer to town where I will not have to pay fare to when I'm hustling out like that. And so she allowed me to go. She told me, when you get the money, come and pay me. And I went, and she forgot all about it. And years later, I actually went back to her. And I knocked at the door, and she opened, and I asked her, do you remember me? She said, not quite. I said to her, I'm the guy who used to live in that house. And I went away before I paid you arrears of 10 months, and here is the money.
You gave her a check?
I gave her cash.
Cash?
And
How much?
It was 40,000 because I was paying 4,000
a month.
Yes. And she told me, ever since I was born, I have never seen a tenant move out and come back later to pay the rent.
Whoa.
Yes.
What made you do that, Stephen?
It's my values. In fact, I keep saying that money is something that I would not want to allow to corrupt me. And because of my values, the way I was raised up by my father, the values that were inculcated into us, so whatever belongs to somebody, you give it to them. You don't run away with it. Yes.
That's special. That's special.
Yes.
There's also a part in this book, and I love that part, where you say you are the first person in the city of Nairobi to rehabilitate a toilet.
That's true.
But not in the way we think.
Yes.
Go on.
Yes. That was on River Road. I was tired looking for a job because I walked all over town, going to industrial area. Everywhere I went, they would tell me, we don't have vacancies, or do you have experience? And I said, why don't I do something that will allow me to, create or generate some money? And so I identified a toilet on River Road. There was a building that once collapsed along River Road. It was actually in that building. So the toilet was not being used. So I talked to the landlord, and I said to him, can I use this toilet? He looked at me and said, young man, what do you want to do with an old toilet? And I said, just let me use it. I will show you what I do. So what I did, I got a gentleman who was like my father in the city, who funded me. He gave me money. I went to Gikoba and I bought Tiba covered the toilet bed, did some shelves, had a table there and a chair, and he bought me a computer. And I sat there and I started doing graphic designing there.
So the toilet became your office?
It became an office. And I used to go there dressed up in a suit and a tie, and people used to tell me, man, you don't belong here. And I used to tell them, man, I don't belong here, but I have to start somewhere. I know where I'm going.
Was it smelling?
Occasionally, when there used to be a blockage with the sewer, you can imagine what used to happen in Nairobi. This happens a lot. I remember one day I woke up and I was like, oh my God, look at what has happened. But anyway, we had to survive.
My goodness.
Yes.
And these are the ordinary kinds of stories that people need to hear, because a lot of people get so depressed, they lose hope in life.
Yes.
They feel helpless, and they don't want to go on.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, stories like these, is that why you write these books, is that?
You know, if you ask me why I write books, number one is because it expresses who I am. And number two, I want to reach out to somebody and I tell them, look, the problems that you have are not uncommon. In fact, people who have similar problems or even more difficult problems than what they have are not rare in this world. There are many. There are so many examples out there of people who have overcome challenges, people who are moving on, people who have picked themselves up from being laid off, from being fired, and all that. There are so many. And I tell them, there is hope. You can do it. You can make it. Yes.
Have you been in that position, Stephen? Have you been at the lowest of lows?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Jeff, before I even started doing what I do now, I remember there was a time I used to stay in slums, in Kawangware slums, and I used to be hosted by a gentleman. We used to live together called Naftali. He's no longer here. He went to US. But we used to stay in the slums of Kawangware, and I can tell you I know the shortest route from Kawangware slums to town. We would cross over to Kangemi, then we would walk along Wayaki Way down to town, and mind you, I do remember most of those times we didn't even have dinner the previous night. So you would walk down, you are tired, you are exhausted, you are hungry. And I remember at one point, near the ABC place, I sat down because I was exhausted. And I started asking for people to give me a lift. And of course, everybody was just zooming off. Yeah. And I remember looking at them and saying, I wish you gave me a lift. One day you would have been proud to say you helped me. And I said, one day I'll drive down this highway, the same way these guys are driving down. Because they have the same brain as me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
How long did you do that, Stephen?
That was like a whole year. That was like walking.
Morning and evening.
Morning and evening. Walking to town. Sometimes we would go to Gara. We had some friends there. If we were unable to go back to Kawangware, we would those friends of ours who used to host us.
And what would you be doing in town? Is it Kibarua?
Looking for a job, Kibarua. I used to do casual jobs, moving tables in offices and all that. And I had a degree, mind you, but I was saying, I may just do something, otherwise I don't want to just sit at home and do nothing. I'd rather do something. You see, when you start doing something, it's when people begin to notice you. If you just stay indoors, no one will notice you. No. You need to move to where people are.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So what was the turning point, Stephen? What was that turning point where you said, you know what, enough of this, I'm going to do this?
When I used to stay in Kawangware now, that's when I thought, why don't I start doing something? That's when I went to rehabilitate that toilet. I did it for a year or so, and after 1 year I thought, wait a minute, this is not taking me anywhere. I can't even survive on this really, because the business was not doing very well. It wasn't my line. I just had to do something to live. So at some point I got a job at Temple Road High School as a teacher, untrained teacher, and my salary was 3,500, and of course that was not even enough to pay my rent. It wasn't even enough to buy me clothes, even to pay bus fare and to educate, to pay bills. It wasn't enough. After 1 year, it faithfully. I taught for 1 year faithfully, and after that I said, no, I cannot keep working here. I quit.
Could you ask for more money?
I did. Actually, I do remember I did something very weird, Jeff. I actually went to the bursar in that school and I asked her, how much money do you collect at the beginning of the term? And she told me. And I said to her, what are the overheads here? She told me. So I did the quick math and I discovered actually that the owners of the school were making clean 500,000 Kenya shillings every month.
Every month?
Every month. And I was like, I went to the teachers in the staff room and I said, guys, why don't we ask the administration to hike our salaries? They said, Stephen, it seems like you have gotten another job. You want us to be fired. Nobody came forward. But I went to the principal, who was the owner, and I said, sir, I think you'll attest, and my students are my witnesses, that actually I do a good job. Why don't you think of upgrading our salary? They said, Stephen, if you don't want to work here, you can as well go. And I said, thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity I've had. And I left.
You walked away?
I just walked away.
He couldn't raise that 3,500. He couldn't increase it?
He couldn't.
What a shame. That's his loss.
Yes.
Does he know where you are now?
But I thank God he did that. Otherwise, perhaps I would still be stuck there.
You'd still be there.
Yes. So.
Does he know where you are now?
No, I don't think he does. But maybe on this now he will know what I do.
Okay, so the first book came out in 2002.
Yes, and I did it while I was in college. It's only that I was not able to publish the book while I was in college. So I had to wait until I graduated. I actually went to Equity Bank, borrowed some money to publish the book and print the book. Yes.
But the thing is, were you writing the book to make money, or what was the intention?
No, in fact, my intention was not at all to make money. I didn't even know you could make money with books anyway. I was writing books the same way someone who is gifted in singing would like to sing, for people to love and listen to the music. So I was writing the books so that I can feel happy to know that I have put something in a book. In fact, I think when you write a book, it's like you have invested in real estate, because a book will never depreciate in value. Now, when you look at it from an economic sense, yes,
It'll be there, and it'll be there forever and ever.
Yes.
But 7 books later, and then you're working on an 8th.
Yes.
What inspires you to do that, Stephen?
My motivation in life is really to educate people to live an optimized life. And if I have got to do that, if I put the ideas that are inspired in my mind and in my spirit, if I put them in a book will be able to go to a place that I will not be able to go. The same way this book got to you even without me knowing that my wife was doing it behind my back.
Yes.
You see, a book will go to places that I may not even
It'll
be able.
travel.
It will go, yes.
And that's your intention?
That is my inspiration, that someone will see the book, will read, will get an idea, will say, oh, this is a good thing, I can practice it, I can try it in my life.
Yeah, do people come up to you, Stephen? Do they come up to you and say, hey, listen, man, Stephen Kigwa, wow, you really changed my life? Do you get people come?
One day I was doing with the shopping at the Sarit Center. Actually, I was just oogling, if you may say so. And I had someone nudge my shoulder and I turned. It was a beautiful young girl. She said to me, excuse me, are you Stephen Kigwa? And I said, yes. She said, just hold on. And she disappeared into the crowd. I was left standing there, like a telephone post.
Yeah.
So I saw her coming holding a gentleman on one side and a lady on the other side. So she came and she said, Stephen, this is my mom. This is my dad. Then she said, Dad, Mom, this is the guy I told you who came to my school at Kabare Girls when I was in Form 2, and the things that he spoke changed my thinking, changed my life. I get that a lot.
Wow.
Yes.
What did the parents say?
They were like, oh, thank you very much. And let me tell you, that kind of feeling, no money can give you that kind of feeling. It's so fulfilling. It's so fulfilling. Yes. I feel overjoyed and I feel humbled when I meet people like that. Yes.
This was what, Kabara Girls?
Kabara Girls.
Where's that?
That is is it in Embu? Embu County? Or?
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
And you do a lot of these talks in schools?
I have been to thousands of schools. I've been, like I said, today I was actually in Thika High talking to the Form 3 guy. I was actually there last week, but one also talking to the Form 2s. This is my life. This is what I do.
And what do you tell them? What do you tell Form 3s and Form 2s?
A lot of things, man. Like, I was talking to the Form 3s. It's a boys' school. And I was talking to them about being a man. I was telling them it's hard to be a man. It's very hard to be a man. And men have all along been misunderstood because the society expects us that we are supposed to behave in a certain way. But if you look at the statistics, they are shocking. Majority of the young people today who are being infected with HIV/AIDS are young people between the ages of 18 and 33. And majority of them, Jeff, are men. Majority of the inmates in our prison today are men, are young people between the ages of 18 and 33. Majority of them, men. People who abuse drugs, majority of them are men. Men really have issues, and I was talking to them about how to be a man, because young men are suffering from identity crisis.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And they are an endangered species in a way.
Yes, exactly.
Stephen, I want to talk more about that after the break. And also, I want to talk more about I Want Me Back.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't read the others, but this one caught my attention, man.
Thank
And the
you.
title, fantastic. Stephen Kigwa. And if you want to pick up this book, it's available everywhere?
It's actually available at Textbook Center, Wexter Bookshop, on Amazon. It's available.
Perfect.
Yes.
I Want Me Back. This is a must-read, especially if you're down and out, feeling hopeless and helpless. You need that lift. You need that push. I Want Me Back could be that push for you. Many of you may not have heard the name Stephen Kigwa, but at the end of JKL tonight, he will be a household name, because this man, what an inspiration. A man who's written 7 books, working on his 8th, and the books are all about inspiring, motivating, lifting people when they're down. People feeling helpless and hopeless. This could be the answer. Could very well be. Twitter handles at @skigwa, at Koinanga Jeff. The hashtag is JKL. Stephen, your first book, very first book, Fruitful and Quality.
Yes.
It seems more religious, if you will. It's more.
Actually, it's a very spiritual book.
Yes.
Yes.
Go on. And you said you wrote it in college.
Yes. I'm a Christian. And when I studied the Bible, I discovered that the Bible promises a lot of joy to Christians. But when I looked around, I saw Christians looking miserable, like they had been baptized in lemon juice, you know. And I was like, what was lacking? And I started doing some research, talking to them, you know, observing their lives. And I discovered they lack some ingredients from the Bible. So I learned those things and I assembled them and put them together in this book. So anybody who wants to be a fruitful Christian, this is the book to read. It helps them to be able to build prayer power and all that. It's a very spiritual book, that one.
What's the bottom line message other than building prayer power? What's the bottom line?
The bottom line is that people who know you don't know you yet. Because people only know you based on your past. They don't know your future. In fact, when people know about your past, they even kind of say your name or you in a certain folder and they say, this is how far he can go. But they don't even know what you can do. They don't know what you carry. They don't know what you can achieve. They try to rate you based on your past.
And
yes.
Going to church every Sunday doesn't
Yes.
necessarily make you a Christian, doesn't it?
It doesn't, of course. Even having a Bible does not make you a holier Christian. Even just by having, you have to study the Bible and read it and practice it.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was the reaction from this book?
So far, the people who read it, of course, are people who are seeking spiritual solace, spiritual food and all that. So it's really for specific niche in the market for people who are Christians and people who are churchgoers. Yes.
Book number 8, which is coming out in December.
Yes.
What is that about?
It's called The Trick of Life.
The Trick of Life.
The Trick of Life. You know, life has some secrets. And the people who discover the secrets, they tweak their lives and they leverage on what God has put within them and they go forward and they go far in life. The secret is not some mystical code that anyone would have to go all the way to the Far East to look for it. No, it's actually very simple. It's actually about our thoughts. That's the secret and the trick about life. Because what you dwell upon continuously will tend to manifest itself in your reality. And it's all about that. It's about how you guard your thoughts, how you build positive thoughts, how you build self-esteem and self-confidence, which is the hinge upon which turns the doors of all human achievement. It's all about that.
And when you tell the 13, the 14-year-olds, the Form 2s, the Form 3s,
yes.
When you talk to them about spirituality, when you talk to them about hope in this day and age, what do they tell you? What is their biggest concern?
There's something I normally do when I go to schools. I actually start by asking them, I want you to write down for me your greatest challenge, the greatest problem you have in life, whether it is, you know, academics, spiritual life, whether it has something to do with your home background, academic, whatever it is, write it down. And I go around and I want them to show me, so for me to know exactly what's their problem. And I've done that in a number of schools and I find there's similarities in all the schools I've been to. Mm-hmm. Some of them, the challenge is, they are not getting good marks. Some of them is school fees. Some of them is they never see their parents, their father, their mother. They don't see them in a long while and all that. Some of them is their background. They feel like the kind of inhibited because of where they came from. So what I do is I give them my experiences in life. I share with them my own personal experiences. For example, I tell them how I was born and raised up in the countryside, and those days we used to be taught English in vernacular. You can imagine. You are being taught English in vernacular. In vernacular.
Go on, give me an example.
And like I used to be taught in school, elephant. Now, can you imagine you're taught like that and you are expected to learn how to speak this language?
Yes.
I went through my primary school life like that. And I went to high school. I was a brilliant boy, I would imagine so. And I was...
You got top marks.
Yes, I got an admission to join a provincial school. In that school, there were boys from all over the country. Some of them had gone to nice boarding primary schools, nice academies, where they had been taught English in English. So the first night was a very difficult night for me because I couldn't speak to anyone. I actually hid myself in a corner far back in the classroom. And I overheard some two boys who had sat away ahead of me say, Mazi, check that boy at the corner there. He's so much of a suba, he can't even make a friend. And I was so offended, but I couldn't say anything. How would I have said it?
What is a suba?
Suba is, Suba in our days is someone slothful.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I remember telling myself, by the time I'm done with my 4 years in this school, I'll be the best speaker and the best orator. So what I did, I began a club in that school. And I said, boys, here it is. Join me if you like, especially if you come from the village like me. The rules were no speaking in vernacular. If you're caught speaking in vernacular, the fine would be 1 bob. And 1 bob then was a lot of money because it was equivalent to a half loaf of bread. And bread was very important to students.
Sure.
So just by getting hold of 2 guys speaking in vernacular, you had a whole loaf. So during break time, Jeff, what I used to do, I would go and associate with the boys who had come from the urban cities. In those days, if you said you came from Buru, man, you belong there in the society. So I would go talk with them, chat with them, but of course they would laugh at me. Everything I said was wrong. My pronunciation was wrong. Everything, my tense is wrong.
Elephant.
Yes, I mean, they would make fun of me. I never got rest even from my friends from village like me. They were telling me, man, we know your father, we know your mother, your brother, sisters. Why are you trying to pretend to be somebody that you are not? We know you. But I was determined. And one day when I was in Form 3, I was given a chance to go in front of 702 boys to lead the entire school in morning devotion. We were just about to go home for the April holiday. So I went there and I opened up my Bible. I read a verse. I still remember in the book of Proverbs, and I read a verse. And after I read, I thought to myself, why don't I share with my colleague students my insight on this verse? So I went on explaining for 10, 15 minutes, and then I went back to we used to queue on the assembly ground. So we were actually closing school. So the principal had allowed other teachers to come forward and word of advice to the boys before we went home. So the teacher who came forward was the teacher who was in charge of literature department. He came forward and he said, where is that boy who was leading us today in morning prayers? And I said, oh my goodness me.
What did I do?
Must have done some grammatical errors.
Yeah.
But I lifted up my head trembling, but he said something that really changed my thinking and my life. He said, 2 things actually. He said, did you hear how well he articulated his points? Did you see how he spoke with confidence? He said, next time when we resume, I would like you to come and see me because you are going to participate in public speaking. So when we resumed school in the second term, we had an internal competition in that school, and a boy who could not speak English in Form 1, in Form 3 was top.
Oh.
I went to the zonal level, was position 1. Went to the district level, position 1. Was defeated position 2 at the provincial level. A boy who could not speak English in Form 1. So these are the kind of stories I tell students. You can do it. If this boy has done it,
yes,
you can do it too.
And what did the other students think? What did those ones who called you that name was a super or whatever?
Of course, with time, you see, people will always laugh at you when you do something. Anytime you try to do something new, you will feel awkward, it will look odd. Anything, whether it's learning how to swim, you will be odd. People will laugh at you. But the moment they see your commitment, your determination, and your perseverance, then they start, wait a minute, what have we got here? Now they start applauding. The same guys who are laughing at me are the same guys now who are applauding me.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
The guy who beat you to number 2 in the provincials, do you remember who it was?
No, I don't remember who it was.
Do you remember what school?
I actually don't even remember the school.
But you came second.
Yes, I was
in the province.
At the provincial level.
Did you do it the following year, or was this your last year?
No, I was in my third year in high school. So the following year I was sitting for my KCSE, so I was doing seriously on books now. Yes.
What did you want to be leaving school when you went to university? What did you want to do?
You might be amazed, Jeff, because my father was a pastor, and I actually admired sitting at the back in the church when he would be preaching and give stories, inspiring stories and all that. I wanted to do the same thing, but I did not want to become a pastor. But I didn't know what it is that I could do that was similar to that until one day I met with an old Jamaican lady who told me, young man, don't you know you can actually do the speaking? It's called motivational speaking as a career. And I said, you think so? She said, yes. That's when I took it on.
Where was this?
That was in Westlands. I was actually attending a meeting it was actually a meeting about multi-level marketing, and I was given a chance to go and talk to people, and I spoke, and there was a lady in that audience, and she came and said, young man, I think you can make a career in motivational speaking. That's when it started.
That's what you did?
Yes.
And it pays. I mean, it pays for you.
That's how I educate my children. That's how I feed my children. That's how I pay my bills.
Do you tell your children, how old is the oldest?
He's turning 11 of this month.
Perfect.
Yes.
Do you tell your children about the stories you're telling this audience right here, walking from Kangemi? Is it Kangemi?
That is from Kawangware and down
all the way into town.
I have to because I actually have something I call Daddy's class, where I sit with my children and I tell them. Because if I don't tell them, who will?
What do they say? Do they think you're making stories up?
No, they actually think it is fun. So they just laugh and I tell them, guys, it is true. You need to work hard. Things don't just fall from the skies like that. The fact that you can eat food that you don't know where it came from, you can put on clothes you don't know where they came from, doesn't mean things just happen like that. People have to work hard. I have to try to make sure that they get that.
We have a lot of children. There's a whole generation of kids who actually think things fall from the skies.
Yes.
You know, they get toys every other day.
Yes.
They get driven to and from school. Everything is there for them.
But that's the problem with the parents. You know why? Because parents nowadays have become too busy looking for investment. Actually, I say they invest for their children. They don't invest in them. They try to compensate for the time that they don't spend with their children by buying them presents. That is a problem.
Yeah.
It's parenting.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then half of these children
Yes.
get raised, brought up by the maids.
By the maids.
Right?
Yes. You can imagine. Now you have delegated the duty of raising up the children to the maid.
Isn't that going to come down the line?
I've been and sometimes I actually have to call parents myself when I sit down with these children and I say, what's the problem? Because when I talk with them, I give them time to come and ask me questions. Some of them tell me, I want to speak to you in private. And I sit with them, they tell me, you know what, I have a problem with my mother. I have a problem with my father. Like I do remember. Many tell me how my father or my mother has been pushing me, yet they don't do ABCD. They don't appreciate who I am and all that. It's actually about parenting. Parents have delegated the duty of raising up the children to the teachers.
To the teachers.
That's a problem.
And then, other problems that we read about every now and then is suicide rates.
Yes.
Among teens.
Yes.
Among teens. What kind of problems could you have to want to commit suicide
And
as a teen?
Unfortunate thing, Jeff, is that majority of those suicides, again, are committed by men.
Boys.
Boys. That's why I actually said it's hard to be a man. Like you said, it's men. We are an endangered species.
Endangered species.
There are many things. Like today, I was speaking with one of the teachers in a certain school somewhere, and he mentioned to me that in his experience, students can come up with all manner of things, especially if they don't like the school. They will try to do all manner of crazy things. If someone is not comfortable with who they are and where they are, that means their self-esteem is down. They sink into a mild depression. And in trying to get up, if they don't get any attention, someone willing to help them, that's when they think of committing suicide. That's when they think of taking some poison and all that.
And that's when they think of burning their dorms.
Their dorms, yes.
Remember a few years ago,
Yes,
that was the big thing?
That's that thing that used to happen all
Yes.
over. Yes.
It's madness.
Yes.
But something went wrong somewhere. Can we get me back? I mean, can they get them back?
We can. You know, everything rises. I like what John C. Maxwell once said, that everything falls and rises on leadership. It's all about leadership. Because if the kind of leadership system that we have put in place is such that you never get to hear what these people are up to, what they are thinking, what are their interests, what are their concerns, then you're about to see such things happening. But of course, we cannot negate the fact that we have got bad influences also from the society.
Yes.
People who deal with drugs and they go sell them to the student and all that.
I want to talk about that after the break, Stephen. You know, the drugs is a huge
Yeah,
issue.
yes.
Alcoholism, you name it. These kids are looking for escapes in this day and age that, it was foreign to us.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that after the break. You can pick up Stephen Kigwa's various book center and the other bookshops around the country and the city. I Want Me Back is a must read. Great stories, humble stories, ordinary stories by an ordinary Kenyan doing extraordinary things. This is what inspiration is all about. And my guest, Stephen Kigwa, says, everybody, to a person, everybody has a story to tell. You should tell your story. It saddens me when I see the state, the youth,
Yes.
the next generation. Many of them are a sorry lot. And yes, you're right, parents have to blame, the environment has to blame. But goodness, thank God we didn't go through that.
Yeah.
The drugs these days, the alcohol, it's just out of control. Who's to blame?
Everybody, the society. The society is you and me and everyone else. Because we have failed as parents, we have failed as the church community, we have failed as the community, village or network. Those days, a child belonged to the community. I mean, if somebody found me doing something wrong, whether they were distant relative or they were not even related to me at all, they would question me. In fact, they would ask, what are you doing? If I was supposed to be in school, they would ask me, what are you doing outside the school compound?
And maybe you.
Yes, but today you can't even do that. You can't even ask that.
You can't touch a kid.
Especially in the city, you can't. They will actually embarrass you. Yes. That's a problem. The society we have failed.
Can that change, Stephen, when you talk to these kids in these schools, when you talk to the next generation? Do you see a change? Do you see hope?
There is hope. There's hope. Why do I say there is hope? Because to say there is no way out is to say we are actually doomed, that we cannot get out of this cage. There is some way. There is some hope, because there are a number of Kenyans like you and me, Jeff, who are willing to mentor young people. And I am happy to see that nowadays people are coming out, going back to the same schools they went to, coming up with alumni and all that, going back, reaching out to the students, talking them to that. These people are doing that. So there's hope. That is happening. Yeah. And I'm actually impressed to see that there's so many boys and girls who went through these schools and they are going back again to talk to them. Yes.
And what do you tell the young man, the young woman who's watching you right now for the very first time, never heard of you, like what your wife was saying, people have never heard of you. So they've never heard of you, but they're watching you and they want to hear more and they're losing hope in life. What do you tell that person?
I would like to tell them that there is hope and you need not give up life. I mean, you can't quit living. There is too much. I actually tell people that if they came to realize what this carrier that we call me, this body, this tabernacle, what is contained in there, they would be amazed. They would actually run away from the potential that is within them. I am a bit saddened, Jeff, when I see today we have more universities than we had 20 years ago. I think we actually have more than 24 public universities in this country. And we have got more than 500,000 graduates graduating from these universities every year.
Every year.
Yet, we don't have jobs for these young people when they go into the job market. What does that tell me? We know for sure that every growing economy, education is a key pillar in a growing economy. But the same education that is supposed to help us and assist us is creating problems for us. That tells me there's something wrong, whether with the governance or the... But there's a problem because the system teaches young people to score nice grades so that you go out there and you're employed. Nobody tells them, go out there and create an opportunity, create a job. I tell them, you are not created to be employed. You are created to be deployed. You have too much potential. Bring it out. Let people drink from the well of what you carry within you. That's what I would tell them.
Not created to be employed,
but to be deployed.
To be deployed.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
The fundamental question, Stephen, is, are they listening? Are these young people listening?
That is the biggest challenge, Jeff. Because even when I go to these schools to talk to them, you will still find a few of them who are not keen. It's like they're hardened. It's like they don't have a purpose in life. It's like they don't have that direction. So they're just there within the masses, just moved by the peer. Let's do this. They do it. There's that team. There's that kind of grouping that actually they don't care. But we have a few of people who take what you tell them and they move forward in life.
And these ones who are kichwangumu, for lack of a better word, who are not going anywhere fast, are the ones who end up easily being radicalized to joining the Mongikis, to joining the Al-Shabaabs, to joining...
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And that,
unfortunately.
And those are the ones we need to rescue, if you will.
I have been trying to see how I can actually be having forums for young people, put them together and teach them some basic skills I would call street skills, business skills, personal development skills. We put them, we teach them, we train them so that they get some mwelekeo. That is something I'm looking forward to studying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Moving forward, Stephen, this great nation of ours, and we keep saying how great this country is, how much potential we have in this country, what we can achieve as a nation. Are people losing hope?
There is a lot of despair in the society right now because a lot of hopelessness. In fact, most of the gangs, the young men with guns, they are young people again. Hopelessness. They are using it as a means of trying to earn something, which is wrong. It's criminal, but they lost it somewhere. They lost it somewhere. I have seen a number of people, even some organizations actually, who are trying to reach out to these young people who are already in the, in criminal activities, and some of them are even giving up those activities. But we need to do more. We need to invest in the future of these young people, because this country, if it's going to continue being great, it's going to be great because of the young people who will be the people holding the helms of all manner of leadership positions in this country.
Yeah.
We need to invest in them.
And can you convince those young Stephen Kigwas, the ones who are in school thinking, you know what, I come from such a poor background. I come from that little village in Mukurweni. I will never be anything. How do you convince that kid he can be president of Kenya one day?
I don't even need to convince them, Jeff. When I share with them my story, they come and tell me, I want to be like you, Stephen. I want to be like you. I've gone to places, they tell me, how come? You mean you're a Kenyan? I have never had a Kenyan talk to us like this. You mean we have Kenyans like you here? So they are willing. When you share with them, I just need to share your story with love. And they see they are awakened. All what they need is some level of awareness. Because you can't change a human being until you make them aware of their state and where they can be tomorrow. Yes, that's all I try to do, creating some awareness, and the decision is up to them to make a decision that this is what I want to take my life to. I call it balance brought forward. Those children who think they have balance brought forward, most of them don't actually go all the way. But the kids who have got no balance brought forward, they have to fight it out. They have nothing to lose, so they give it their best. They give all their commitment, all their energy, all their effort. They say it's now or never. It's life or nothing at all. And nothing at all. They fight it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you ever want to give up in life, Stephen?
Oh yes, I did. And I think when I was in college, I remember one time, because I didn't have money for school fees. And we are four in our family, and I was in college, and all the other, my siblings, I happened to be the firstborn, were in secondary school, so my parent was trained completely. So they couldn't even really afford to pay school fees for me while I was in the university. I had to hustle it out. I remember I had to knit tablecloths and sell to the lecturers and raise school fees. I remember I had to print calendars and sell and raise money for school fees. So when someone tells me that, I'm quitting because I can't do this, I'm like, come on, you can do it if I did it. I felt like I quit, but I said, no, wait a minute. What story will I give if I quit?
Do you tell that to those kids?
Yes, I do that. And by the way, I had to organize a walk, 30-kilometer walk, to raise money, not just for me, but also for my siblings, so that we could raise money for school.
Were you able to?
Yes. We got so many people who are willing, especially in the village. Those days, the village people, they don't have a lot, but they have the willingness, they have the love. They want to see children educated and all that. So they came forward. They contributed a little, 5 bob, 10 bob here and there. We were able to raise school fees. They all went to school.
But people walked.
Yes.
How far was the walk?
It was actually from Mukurweni to Nyeri town.
And when you go back to Mukurweni now, other than Kabando or Kabando,
yes.
do they, who's from your village or is close by?
No, not really my village, but not so far away.
Yes.
It's like 4 kilometers from.
Do you go back? Did you go back to speak to them?
I actually go there. Like a month ago, I was there. I go to those primary schools where I went to school myself and the neighboring schools to talk to them. Even the secondary schools are out there. Not for a pay. I go there to give back to the community, to give back to the society.
Yeah.
I go there and donate books.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Do you tell those kids, no etago elephant?
When I tell them that, I mean, like, number one, what amazes them is like, this guy is speaking this kind of English here. Yes. Are you sure he came to this school here, really?
Correct.
Yes. So when they see that, and they know my home, they know this is his home, these are the parents, these are the relatives, then it is. If it happened for him, it can happen for us too. Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
The best thing about what you do, Stephen, what's the best thing? The thing that gives you the greatest satisfaction?
It's that joy and the fulfillment when someone comes to me and tell me, you know what, you may not know me. I was 3 weeks ago, I was somewhere in Nyahururu, and I was speaking to a team there, and one of the gentlemen came forward and said, Stephen, I know you don't even remember me at all, but 2 years ago I was seated in an audience where you were, and you spoke to us. You may never have spoken to anybody in that audience, but you spoke to me. And I was like, are you flattering me? He said, I'm not flattering you, I'm speaking the truth. And I was like, I'm so humbled. When he told me that I changed his thinking, his life. Sometimes people tell me that, I say, I changed your life? How? But I do it.
Yes.
I do it.
And that gives you satisfaction?
Yes.
Oh.
By the grace of God, I do it, and it gives me satisfaction.
All right, Stephen, it's time to give Kenyans some satisfaction and some hope. That's your camera over there. And again, most of the people you talk to, even though you do corporates, you do all across the board, it's the next generation we're talking to. What do you tell them over there, Stephen?
You cannot quit. This is your time. Actually, this is African time, and the gateway to Africa is Kenya. We cannot give up, young people. We need to do it. We need to rise up. There's so much potential in us. There's so much giftings and talent. You can't just quit. You can't just say it can't be done. People who have done it before are there. They are doing it. Learn from them. Come to us. We will help you where we can. You can't just give up. Come on, do it, because you're born to be a leader. Thank you.
Amen. Do you have a website, Stephen?
Yes, I do. mskigwa.com. www.mskigwa.com.
mskigwa.com.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And if they want to get in touch with you through Twitter or through this
Twitter
website?
or through the website, they'll see my telephone contacts. They are there. My email addresses are there. skigwa@mskigwa.com.
Excellent.
Yes.
We look forward to book number 8.
Yes.
And 9 and,
And
10.
I will invite you for the launch.
I appreciate it.
Thank
I look
you.
forward to it.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll give you my book as well.
Oh, I will appreciate that. Thank you.
You know I wrote a book. Huh?
Yes, I know. I know.
Okay.
I even came to
just one, not 7.
I know. But it is an inspiring book. I have heard about it.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff.
But I challenge you to write another one.
I'm gonna do it.
All right.
Miles Monroe did the same thing. I'm gonna do it.
Then you better do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Say hello to your wife.
Okay, I will.
I've never met her, but she brought you to this bench.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stephen Kigwa, folks, remember that name. This is what Inspiration Thursday is all about. Ordinary Kenyans doing extraordinary things. And if he's inspired you tonight, pick up his book. This is the one I particularly like, I Want Me Back. But all 7 of them will inspire you in 7 different ways. He's working on number 8, and that's no doubt gonna be a bestseller. Remember this name, folks.